Hey, folks.
Hello.
Good evening.
I enjoyed those jams. I was enjoying those.
Isn't that the best? I could listen to that all night long instead of having to listen to me. Sorry about that. I think we've still got some folks joining. So, but it's 6 o'clock and I like to start on time. So we're going to get rolling. It's good to see all of you here and on the call. And what we're going to do tonight is I'll walk through some slides. I've got the agenda, all that. I'll flip over to a screen share in a couple seconds, and then we'll work together through the agenda. And I'll keep the video going so that you can at least see me as I'm sort of doing a voiceover for the slides. You know, people have been asking me what's participation for the Zoom call, and showing up and having your camera on is about all I really care about. And that's, I think, just a way to engage. But when I'm busy chatting away, don't think you need your camera on. But when your camera's on, please do not be like, the other thing is like, you know, doing email, doing your grocery list. When we're engaging, please try to pay attention. That's all I ask for participation, and don't see any problem with folks getting the full credit for the call. So, so with that, I'm going to get right into it. It's 6 o'clock. We will be done at 7:30, not a minute later. And so let's roll and see where we go tonight as a group. And I'm going to need for you guys just to confirm that you can see the slides, the first page. Can someone just yes or no to me on that?
Confirmed.
Good. Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh, God. So far so good. And we're already at 6:01. So very good. We have a lot to cover tonight. And so you can see on the agenda there that we have, there's really three things we'll do. Is that we will go through the materials for tonight on marketing. It's the first part of two modules on marketing. We'll spend time together in groups. We're going to break everyone out into a group, and you've already started to think about that with your articles, where we will have a person who is going to be sort of copying down on a slide 3 to 5 points from your discussion from your articles, and then we'll all come back together and we'll do the report out. And I'm looking for just 3 to 5 minutes of a report out, 3 to 5 points. If it takes you 1 minute, 2 minutes, great. Just so we can see what all of us are learning by all reading different types of articles. So I'll go from about now until 6:45 going through the slides. If we can get done sooner, that's always good. Sometimes it's hard, you know, 33 or so slides I want to walk you through. And just to give you folks, I've met many of you in other courses, but some of you I've never met. And so I just wanted to give you a background on myself, just so you kind of understand, like, who is this guy? Where's he coming from? What do you or don't you know about healthcare? And so, you know, I've been working in healthcare since I was 14. And so I actually started as a nursing home volunteer, and you know, very early on, my mom had needed to do something with me in the summers. And so she had me volunteer at the neighborhood nursing home. And so that's how I sort of started in healthcare and never left healthcare. And then ended up in 2019 retiring from an industry career where I was vice president for clinical programs at Healthcare Service Corporation. And so I'm a nurse by training, but I have a doctoral degree. So I describe myself as sort of a clinical bureaucrat. I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in psych units, I've worked in substance abuse units, neonatal intensive care. I was an inner city home care nurse. And in the last 20 years, I've spent my time in progressively responsible leadership positions in the Blue Cross system, running clinical programs for both state markets and then also for multi-state programs. And many of you are HCSC employees, so some of you I may have worked with, some of you I may not have, but I'm definitely on site in the Richardson office. And we'll be more now that we're sort of allowing some more access to the building and just doing recruitment efforts for the program. I started teaching at UT when I retired in February of 2020. And so that's sort of my background on. And so I've always been more of a bureaucrat, more of an administrator than a clinical person. And so marketing has been the space I've been in. And I never really realized how marketing influenced all segments of healthcare, particularly health insurance plans. And I never really thought about how a PPO plan is actually a product that we're selling, that, you know, having a nurse call center is actually a product that's being sold. And so marketing is in everything that you do in healthcare, whether you're working in a local pharmacy, whether you're working in an optical clinic, whether you're working in a dental clinic, wherever you're at, marketing permeates everything. And so we're going to try and take a 15-week marketing course. And I've taught this in the past, and previously I would teach it over the summer where we have a strategic planning course for half of it, and then a marketing course for the other half, 2 textbooks, basically. Way too much. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to give you the high-level content of a marketing course in a lecture this week, and then next week, face-to-face, then next week will be asynchronous. So again, 33 slides we'll walk through, then we'll do our report outs and come back together as a group. And again, for those of you who may have just joined, people were asking about participation. Showing up is number one. When we're actively engaged, when I'm not talking at you, I like to see your faces. That's helpful to me to get to know you and sort of connect with you. And so let's jump right into the content for tonight. So really, there's 4 things I want to focus on tonight with you. First of all, I want to give you a sort of a 30,000 feet overview of healthcare delivery. And I think it's really important to have that as a framework. Like how do we get to where we are today from where we've been? We'll also look at the history of healthcare marketing. There's some particular interesting components to that. And then we'll look at some basic, very basic marketing principles again. 2 lectures, not 15 weeks. And then I want to make sure folks understand the difference between a market, a healthcare market, and healthcare marketing. There's 4 objectives that are listed in the materials. You can review those at your leisure. They're very closely aligned to what I just talked about. They're in the module. And so let's get right into the content where we start to look at the evolution of the delivery of healthcare in 4 phases. And this is from a historical view. And so the slide that's up right now shows that really starting with the first social, which I call social community model, and I've kind of made these up, I've kind of morphed them from other materials, 4 different areas. The social community model pre-1920, from the 20s to the 70s, looking at a medical model from the 70s to the 90s, sort of something I call a healthcare model, and then the population health model, which is where I think we're sitting right now. In the sort of delivery of healthcare services. The first model of those 4 is the social community model. And this really was the focus at this time in healthcare delivery. And so we're talking now pre-1920, was really the care of symptoms, the care of the sick and the dying. And this is generally done in homes, sometimes in institutions. If it was in institutions, the purpose was to isolate people from society. There was a huge push to institutionalize the mentally ill. Oftentimes the care of the sick and the dying was delegated to religious orders and service-based orders that really focused on how to just comfort the sick and comfort individuals. And it's interesting when you look at some of the history, how when they look at some of the plagues and the death rates at plagues during different periods of time, plagues that affected and death rates that were tracked were oftentimes lower around religious communities, because the religious community would sort of push past their fears to care for the sick within their community, and they would actually build up immunity. And so it's fascinating to look at that history of sort of how healthcare evolved. And then battlefield cleanup, that's just my term that I coined, how, a lot was learned on the battlefield and caring for soldiers. You think about the whole discipline of nursing, Florence Nightingale, starting in the Crimean War. And so the focus of this period really is on comfort and on care. The next focus period is something I call the medical model. And again, 1920s to 1970s-ish is a broad period, a lot of change, but just trying to put it into some high-level consumable buckets. Is really the driver here was to cure people. Here we had penicillin was invented. Technology was invented. We began to see academia. We saw the academy move from primarily a theological training institution to more science-based. And so universities began to morph into more science-based institutions, medical schools, nursing schools, much more science-based, and focusing on moving from caring for symptoms and actually curing and beginning to treat acute illness. No focus on chronic illness, so to speak, as we have now, but really focusing on people who are having problems, the introduction of surgery suites, anesthesia, but always focusing on cure at all costs. no matter what. That was the training. And you think about the Great Depression occurred during this period. And so you had a huge social program evolution where people began to really care for people after that Great Depression. We saw the birth of health insurance. Blue Cross Blue Shield, the system was born in Dallas, Texas, at Baylor University in the late 1920s. We saw the birth of Medicare in 1965. Both of these activities where health insurance began to appear on the scene in a way to actually fund care delivery just caused a huge surge of growth in not only the delivery of care, but the building of plants and hospitals and facilities that could deliver healthcare. And so the next period of time, which is what we call the health status model, the healthcare health status model, really 1970s, 1990s. And for me, this is when I was getting my training and really in my educational sort of early days. And really the focus here was on moving into a more of a holistic approach where you focused more on treating the whole patient, on the individual patient as a whole person. And you looked at treating an individual not just from the physical, but also the behavioral health of the mental perspective, and then the social perspective. We began to see some discussions around the social components. There was really not a focus on community health like we see today, but really focusing on the social factors in an individual's life versus a larger population or community. Again, lots of technology expanding, life expectancy really booming. Neonatal intensive care units in the 70s popped on the scene, and now you were taking care of babies that were born at 32 weeks less, 26 weeks gestation, putting them on ventilators. End of life care, another time when people were living longer, and there were all these new ethical type dilemmas. What do we do with assisted suicide, which also was beginning to, now there was technology that could help people who were terminally ill, in deep pain and suffering, perhaps make a decision. And so all of these ethical dilemmas also were surfacing during this period. And then the definition of what health is. If you were to ask someone in a third world country, Africa per se, and say, what does health mean to you? And the person may say, health means having clean water. Where for me, if I've got a pimple on my buttocks, I'm off to the dermatologist, right? And so very different definitions and beginning to look at health much more broadly than just the treatment of illness and of acute illness. And then the last stage is the population health model. And here in the focus really is around the social determinants of health. And I want to make sure, if you haven't heard that yet, that you're familiar with that term. But really the focus is on populations of people versus individuals. Treat the individuals, but treat them so you impact the health of the population. We began to see an evolution of technology during this period, the introduction of really being data-driven, much more so looking at alternative sites of care, the home care industry expanding, and again, of course, the social determinants of health being a huge focus in this particular population health model. When you think about social determinants of health, it's really important to realize that about 80% of healthcare costs that are generated today in the system are related to issues that occur outside the hospital. And if you look at the slide there, 50% of costs are generated by what happens in an individual's zip code. And so these facts are so important for us to understand what's going on that's influencing the cost of healthcare. Only 20% has anything to do with access. And, we spend tremendous amount of resources to open up access for people to get healthcare. But are we really improving the health of individuals and having better outcomes and lower costs? And, I can think of examples where you'd see a kid that would maybe come into the emergency room with an asthmatic reaction, and the kid's maybe in the ER every 2 weeks with an asthma episode. And here, if we're not asking the right questions and we're just treating the symptoms, the kid lives in a home where there's mold. And so maybe it would be better for us to do something about the social environment where the child lives, maybe even have the health insurance company pay to move the person, or even pay the rent of a new home for the family if it's actually lower than the cost of having a kid come to the ER every couple of weeks. And so these are situations that are right on the top of mind for folks. They're tough questions to get arms around, but really there's thinking that needs to be done around how do we expand how we manage the health of the populations that are as healthcare providers we service. This slide here is another term. Just want to make sure you're familiar with Healthy People 2030. It's a program by the Department of Health and Human Services for the last 50 years. In 10-year increments beginning in 1980, the federal government has implemented both metrics for tracking and interventions to try to improve the health of the population. And so they've identified, when they talk about social determinants, 5 different domains that you can see listed on that slide. Very interesting information about your neighborhood, social, your family support, economic stability, your educational level, access to education, and then of course access to health care and the quality of that care. So that's an overview of the 4 phases of sort of a history of healthcare, and sort of looking at the history of marketing. And so now we're going to look at, I'm sorry, we didn't talk about the high level history of healthcare marketing. It was just healthcare delivery. Apologize for that. So now we're going to look at really what is marketing, and look at from a, we saw the history, sort of those 4 phases of healthcare sort of evolution. How does that relate to the marketing component? So this definition here is a definition from the American Marketing Association around what is marketing. And so this was approved in 2017 by that professional association. But basically, marketing is really providing information and messaging to people to help them make decisions, to influence their decisions, and to get them to buy your stuff. I mean, it's really that simple. And it's telling people about products and getting them to buy them. And so that's in a nutshell, from a high level, what the definition of marketing is. And the piece I want to just throw in here, which is sort of a little bunny trail, is that remember that marketing is about branding, and branding is also about you. And so as a healthcare leader, I want you to always be mindful of what's your brand like? How are you presenting yourself as product almost to the healthcare ecosystem where you're working in? And so that you demonstrate traits, skills, capacity, and capabilities as a leader to be someone that they want to engage with. And so I know people push on me so much about, why are you so picky about our written communications and et cetera? It's because sometimes the things you put in writing are the first exposure that your brand, as you as a healthcare leader, is exposed to others in the institution where you work. And so I really want to push on people to really make sure you're marketing yourself, and that you're branding yourself as a successful, up and coming healthcare leader. So in terms of marketing, from a marketing perspective of history, this slide lists 5 different sort of eras of marketing, and these are sort of well-known, just kind of general periods of time. And then it also shows some of the activities or tools that were occurring during the different times when we go back on that slide in history. And so the first period was something we call the product era. And so this is really prior to 1920, and this is when really products would sell themselves. Think about the Model T. The Industrial Revolution was pushing out new products. Technology was improving. Cars were being built. The production line was being, assembly lines were being implemented. And basically everybody who wanted to buy a new car got a black Ford Model T, and that's what companies would offer. And so the output of the Industrial Revolution was just flooding the market, and people were just buying products. But then as you move past that period of time, companies were beginning to give consumers a choice. And so instead of just being able to buy a black Model T, companies would offer maybe a red Model T, or a red and a black Model T, and maybe put some extra features on there, really giving consumers some choices and beginning to expand this whole idea around consumerism and choice. Again, production after World War II in the United States was just all of the production capacity in the country that had been built for the war was now being converted over to develop and produce products for the soldiers coming back from the war, and also for their families that were growing. The next period is something called the service era, 1950 to 1990-ish. And here the focus was really on giving consumers what they want, giving them exactly choices to make, and beginning to really build on how do we improve the service to customers. The relationship era after that 1990 2000, really around relationships and building partnerships. You think about companies beginning to see their customers as partners. Loyalty programs started to pop up on the scene. And then lastly, the social area that we're in right now, where the companies now actually are helping to identify our very specific needs, actually creating needs in us by feeding us messages through our social media and really influencing the things that we're buying. So when you think about those phases really relating to just marketing in general, let's talk a little bit about the phases of healthcare marketing and the development of the healthcare component in marketing, sort of as a contiguous stream. You have marketing in the country occurring and changing and evolving, but also healthcare marketing changing and evolving too. And really about as far back as, even the 1950s, 1960s, marketing was viewed as inappropriate, not ethical by healthcare organizations, that they should not be making a profit, that healthcare was, again, back to that whole mentality around we're here to treat and to cure and to help. And that should not be something that has anything to do with the business component. In the 60s, hospitals and healthcare organizations really focused more on marketing or more on media and public relations. And so you may have a famous patient in your hospital. And so the public relations would handle communicating about that, or they'd be out in the community, maybe talking about the hospital services, always under the public relation banner and having departments labeled public relations. In the 70s, marketing research began to emerge sort of in the non-healthcare spaces. And actually in 1970, the first mention of healthcare marketing was at an American Hospital Association convention, where they actually had a breakout on marketing and on advertising, a breakout session for people to learn about it. In the 80s, hospitals began to learn that marketing could actually generate revenue, and it began to increase their market share. And so services like obstetrics and plastics or cosmetic surgery, outpatient care began to grow. And there began to be sort of a brain around how this can really help our bottom line, particularly when at the same time you have industry expansion, you have competition in healthcare, lots of hospitals duplicating services. And then in 1990s, probably the largest change to the whole focus on marketing and healthcare, as hospitals began to merge and as health systems began to form. And you can think about this, the health systems in Tyler continuing to form and to grow and becoming larger and larger entities. What this did is it opened up the opportunity for expanded resources, expanded business expertise, and also oftentimes leaders from non-healthcare entities would take over the leadership of a healthcare company. And so they would bring with them all of their experience around business and running an organization and making a profit. And so it really was an evolution from profit is bad to where profit is something that's needed to be sustainable moving forward. And so really 4 questions, that I want to kind of talk about with the next couple of slides. Why did healthcare resist marketing? We've kind of touched on that a little bit. What advanced healthcare marketing? Why should healthcare be marketed? And why is healthcare different than other industries? Because it's important when you study marketing that you realize that there are some things about healthcare that make it different than other organizations. And so the first question, why healthcare resisted marketing, really, again, back to what I said earlier, there was really no need from a religious perspective. The church would support the institution. Charity care was a big driver. There was a focus on mission versus money. And then also during that period of time, there was not the expertise. And again, back to the promotion of the idea that it was wrong to make a profit in healthcare. But when you think about the influences, this next slide of what advanced healthcare, more providers, duplication of services, hospitals in the same region doing the same things, customers/patients began to become much more consumer and service savvy. You think about the introduction of valet parking at the hospital, moving to private rooms and carpeting on floors in hospitals. I can remember when I worked in food service when I was in high school at a big hospital in Detroit, and they redid a whole floor. They turned it into a VIP floor, carpeting on the floors. They actually had lobster and steak dinners every night for those patients. And so it was a new level of service that was being offered to patients to come to that hospital to stay in that particular unit. And then providers again began to focus on niche revenue generating areas, things that would be covered by insurance. And then the other piece that really advanced marketing, and this is something called social marketing, and we'll talk more about this specifically. It's also your written assignment for this week is to talk about social marketing, is the introduction of that whole concept of social marketing. And then the next question of really why market healthcare. And so this slides is the same reason you market healthcare as you would do for any other business. You want to achieve the strategic objectives of the organization. Remember, marketing and strategy are very connected. That's why we put the two concepts together in one course. You want to educate consumers. You want to build brand loyalty, and you want to grow your business. And so those are really the reasons why healthcare organizations and healthcare services should be marketed. And so the last question is why healthcare is different from other industries. What makes it different than many other things that are marketed and sold? And I think the first piece is that services are harder to market than tangible items. And this is true really for healthcare. It's true also for any consulting type services. And so you're always challenged when there's not something that you can show to a customer. You don't have a shiny object. The other piece about healthcare is that the healthcare services that are delivered are very complex. Oftentimes the demand is relatively rare for certain services, and it's highly unpredictable. And so how do you invest resources in marketing things like this? There's also the question of who in healthcare is the target audience. Oftentimes when you're marketing, you're trying to market a service or product to people who are going to buy it. But in healthcare, oftentimes the people who are paying for the care, i.e. employers, government entities, are not the individuals who are actually selecting you as the service provider that they're going to go to get their healthcare. It's also hard to differentiate between providers from a cost and quality perspective. And it's hard to show value for the services that are delivered. And so those are some of the differences between healthcare and other industries. So let's change gears now and let's begin to look at some of the basics of marketing. And the first slide is, what is healthcare marketing? And, we looked at the American Marketing Association definition a few slides back. And now let's look at sort of healthcare marketing. And marketing is really talking about services that will improve health or life, the life or quality of life of a consumer. There's not a lot of other differences between healthcare marketing except really the messages around marketing and healthcare. Like other industries, healthcare marketing uses targeted messages to individuals. They create messages to show value. But healthcare marketing should always show how a product or service is going to protect, prevent, or really solve a health-related issue and improve the quality of life for individuals. In this slide here, we have what's something called the 7 P's of marketing. And when I studied marketing, there was 4 P's. And so this whole idea around the sort of the model of marketing, moving from 4 P's, which were really place, price, promotion, and product, to where now we are with 3 additional components around people, process, and the physical environment. We now have this larger sort of bubble cluster of what the 7 components are of marketing. And you have people who you're marketing to, you have process around marketing. And again, think the process of delivering a product, think about the process of delivering a healthcare service, think about Amazon delivering packages to your front door. So how does that work? How easy is that? How do you minimize abrasion? What's the physical environment like where products are sold? What are your stores like? What's your website look like? And of course, the older 4 P's around place, where are you going to promote it? Price, how much? The whole idea around price skimming. And you think about companies like Apple, when they roll out an iPhone, they charge the very maximum amount they can for that new product. And then as those initial, everybody runs to the iPhone store who's totally addicted and gets their new iPhone as soon as they hit the market, and they pay, $2,000. And then over time, they slowly may gradually reduce the price. And so that company's making a lot up front on those new products. And then promotion, how you're going to market. And then of course your product is absolutely key of what it is that you're actually selling. So those are the 7 P's of marketing. This next slide is really about the types of healthcare products. We kind of went through sort of that last cluster of information, but really I want to make sure people are tracking on the types of healthcare products that there are. There's product types and there's company types. And oftentimes people don't think about this broad scope of impact and sort of contribution. You think 20% of the economy is related to healthcare. But I went through and I thought it was interesting to look at the top 20 companies in the United States in terms of revenue. And you can see in yellow, those are the companies that focus on the business of healthcare. And so there's a variety of types of companies in there, CVS Health being the fourth largest company, healthcare company, United Healthcare, health insurance company, the fifth, McKesson, who does all kinds of different things from durable medical equipment to providing care, and then others that are listed on the slide also. But when you think about the largest companies in the world are healthcare companies and the different types of products that they offer, and then the company types, it's huge in terms of how it expands and the different opportunities that each one of you have as healthcare leaders to move and to go into different industries and explore different opportunities. And of course, the components of marketing and how you market services based on the type, based on the company type that are listed on that slide. And then the next slide, I wanted to throw in here the product life cycle from our strategic planning course, because the product life stages of where a product is really do impact your marketing approach. And so very important to be mindful of that and to understand where your product is in those 4 stages in terms of how you're going to approach it from a marketing perspective. The next section is on healthcare markets and really looking at the difference between what are the components of marketing, which we talked about, and then what are the components of markets. So what really is the difference between marketing and markets? And so primarily the definition of what is a market really is that market means different things to different organizations, but really it's a geographical service area, is generally how healthcare organizations identify it. And oftentimes for-profit organizations will look at it as a market area, and not-for-profit organizations will look at it as a service area. And so oftentimes community-based organizations will look at their service area, where they are to provide services. And then in terms of building markets, the how they're established, there are basically 4 considerations around that: the geography of a market. So what is the actual sort of boundaries of a market? You know, most healthcare organizations have that outlined. Where are they state? Are they local? Are they international in terms of geography? And then the different population segments that they're targeting, and how are they segmenting, and how are they identifying what populations that they're servicing? If a hospital does not have an obstetrics unit, they're probably not going to focus in areas where there's a high incidence of pregnancy. If a assisted living company is looking at marketing and they're looking at a market, they're going to look for areas and demographic zip codes and demographics where there's a high population of elderly that will use their services. Another way to look at markets is, so what is the demand? What is the consumer demand on certain types of products, and how would you enter into those markets? And then lastly, markets without walls, which is the environment we're in so much today, where the internet crosses all boundaries and people can be a part of your market from a worldwide perspective. The next slide is a summary of really why are healthcare markets important to understand. And the piece around that, the number one really takeaway here from these slides is really that healthcare markets are increasingly unstable and very unpredictable. And you think about how things change, demographics change, populations are shifting around, consumer attitudes quickly changes around their preferences of things that they want from a purchasing perspective. New technologies constantly showing up in the market, and then the evolving competitive situation. You see a tremendous activity within acquisition of healthcare organizations, and then lastly, the evolving technology that's constantly presenting itself into the market. The data usability, accessibility, and then the information utilization, and all of those factors are so important within the healthcare marketing and understanding that, knowing that these are areas that are constantly evolving, being mindful of that as you're building marketing plans and thinking about marketing from a healthcare perspective. And so, markets are constantly changing. Marketing is a key component of the strategic planning process. And remember, strategic planning decisions drive your marketing plan. As you spent a lot of time in the last 6 modules looking at strategic planning, gathering data, gathering information, external assessment and competitive analysis, the internal assessment, looking at tools to sort of validate your assumptions around what you've learned, and then turning those different data findings into assessing what are the best strategic alternatives from the 5 different types of strategies that you might want to select. And all of that turns into a strategic plan, which, when you have products either expanding in a market, contracting in a market, or staying the same, require marketing and a marketing plan. And so strategic planning decisions really do affect the marketing plan. And then marketing plan data, which is pulled and collected, really can influence the strategic planning process. And so that's a summary of an overview of really what I wanted to cover. And so made it through those slides fairly quickly, hopefully not too fast. But really, we looked at a number of things. We looked at sort of the evolution of the delivery of healthcare. We looked at the 4 phases of the history of healthcare in terms of how we sort of got to where we are today in a focus on population health. We looked at sort of a high-level history of healthcare marketing and how we moved from being very sort of concerned about profit and running a hospital or a healthcare entity as a business to where now that is really common practice, what marketing is, some of the basics of marketing, and then the difference between marketing and then healthcare markets. And so with that, I am going to pause. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to just open up for if there's any questions folks have about the content we talked about. Any thoughts you want to share?
I found you pulled up like the 20 top companies, and I was kind of shocked that CVS was up there. Like, I probably go to CVS once a week just to pick up miscellaneous things, but being that they were number 4, right? It was like kind of knowing that we have Apple, Amazon, which they were number 1, but still it was interesting to know that. And then obviously the others that made the top 20, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, no, that's great ID that you saw that. The thing about CVS is, of course, it's a chain of pharmacies, and that's sort of their bread and butter. But remember that CVS is also Express Scripts. And so they have a whole pharmacy PBM that's part of them. And so that's generating considerable revenue. And I think if you were to look at the CVS sort of family of businesses, that there's probably other things I'm just not tracking out right now, but definitely that pharmacy component is huge. And so CVS has now become a self-contained entity where now they distribute drugs. They're a pharmacy benefit manager. Actually, UT Tyler has, I think our benefits are Express Scripts pharmacy, and they want us to go to CVS. And so that whole ecosystem is the reason for all of that revenue in that space. So that's a great observation. So anybody else? Any other thoughts or observations or questions about the content?
How did Marathon make the list?
I'm sorry?
How did Marathon make the list?
Marathon. Say more about that, Dimitri. Let me go back to the list. I don't know if you guys have the slides in front of you or not, but let me see. Marathon. Oh, you mean Marathon Petroleum? Is that what you were asking about, Dimitri?
Yeah, I was just curious.
Well, they're on the list because I'm sure they're a big old oil company. Yeah, yeah. It says the petroleum industry is the job is the category for Marathon. So, what else? Anything else on people's minds? Is content pretty clear?
Hey, Dr. Marion, I actually have something that I wanted to ask you in regards to organizational versus private marketing. I feel like with all the research that I've done, there's a huge gap with what they're allowed to do and the capability from organization to private. So, for instance, like cosmetics, you know, with the organization, they're very strict on what you're allowed to market, even though if they marketed more towards if their marketing was more like Facebook and social media and things like that, I just find that they're not as engaged in that area, especially some of the bigger corporations around this area. They're just not. And so I just wonder what your thoughts are.
When you say, Sally, when you say they're just not, you're saying why are, I want to make sure I'm tracking on your question. I'm not 100 crystal clear, but I'm slow. So are you asking why are certain types of companies not using social media and other tools for marketing programs or services?
Right. So for instance, we actually at UT Health have a really great cosmetic.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah. And so when you go into social media and you look at our website compared to other websites, you're just not meeting the standard of the demographics and the standard of what's on the web right now as far as.
I love that. That is such a that's a great point, because when you and we'll talk about this next week when I do the lecture. There are, there's this whole process called managing the marketing endeavor. And I'll talk about this in the video lecture that you guys will watch. But really, there's a number of components that healthcare leaders need to be thinking about when they look at their marketing endeavor, their marketing efforts. And one of those components is you got to have the right talent to do it. So that means people. You have to have the right channels. You also have to have the right technology. And I'll tell you what, I look at, for example, Macy's. I like Macy's, okay? And so I have the Macy's app, and they have great deals in their like whatever on the app, right? But the app is so freaking hard to use, right? Because the technology there is just not as robust. I mean, I go to Amazon, it's like boom, 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 and the next day it's at my front door. So they've taken care of the whole issue around process, right? They've taken the whole issue around place and removed a bunch of abrasion. And companies like our own internal websites, we don't have the right technology, we don't have the right folks driving that, and we just haven't learned how to compete in the marketplace like Amazon, or like, one of the biggest drivers right now is all these niche players and all these third-party organizations that are moving into the healthcare space and trying to get market share and trying to get new products, new offerings. I mean, we're going to see much more change than we're even seeing now. Well, technology is the answer for that, and that's how that's working. And so you've got to have robust systems and technology, especially around the marketing.
I'd like to make a comment on that as well, Dr. Myron, if you don't mind.
No, please.
So I'm in charge of business development for my healthcare company. And not only does it matter with technology, but it's the finances that you have to put into it as well, to make sure you have a decent, return on investment. I think we spend over 6 figures a year just for one company, just for our digital marketing company. And every time we add on a service, it's an add-on fee as well.
Exactly. So good. Yeah. Well, you think about, there's really there's two different types of sort of strategies around marketing. There's traditional strategies and there's contemporary strategies. Traditional strategies, and again, this will be the next module, are things like paper and print and billboards and radio and TV, and then contemporary are more digitally based. So it's very expensive, even in the digital space, to be able to stay up to date, have current tools and information, and being able to share that readily. So listen, let's that's a great comments, guys. We're coming up to 6:45. Is everybody clear on what we're gonna do for the next 15 minutes? Anybody not clear? If you're clear, I'm assuming everybody's clear, unless you say helps. I'm clear. I'm gonna send you guys in the next minute into your breakout rooms, and all 5 groups you've been assigned. You should have your article right now, and then within the group, one person should offer up being a scribe and capture the 3 to 5 points from the article that your team read. Jot those down. Do not write a book. Don't note 10 pages, like boom, boom, boom. These are the 3 to 5 things that we identified. And then we will come back together at 7 o'clock And we'll give people an opportunity to report out. And you can either report out as if two of you would like to talk or three or whatever, but you only get 3 to 5 minutes. So we're not looking for long drawn out presentation. Just really want to learn. I want all of us to learn what you guys learned in the small groups together as a big group. And 3 to 5 topics. And so we'll come back together in about 15 minutes. I'll give you guys a 5-minute warning through a message, and then we'll come back together. And then between 7 and 7:30, we will have the 5 report outs. And so that'll get us to about 7:25 if everybody takes 5 minutes. And then we'll kind of go from there. Is that green? Everybody green on that?
Yes,
Let me see if I can do the breakout rooms now. All right, y'all. I am gonna try and open them up. They should be opened. Oh boy. I wonder why you're not being joined. I put all of you guys in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can you guys still see me?
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
I assigned everybody, actually Zuma to do the assignments. And you all were assigned in rooms, and all I had to do was open the rooms you're supposed to. Did you guys log in with your Patriot account? Everybody's in Patriots too? I'd like to use some profanity, but I'm not going to. The only one, 2 people got assigned to a room here for some reason. So, all right. You know, we're not going to be able to pull this together. Technology fail. I don't have a, this is, dang it, pissed me off here. You guys, I like most of the class is showing not joined to the meeting for some reason. Do you guys remember what room you're in? Does anybody?
Yeah.
Numbers.
All right, let's do this. Let's try. Bree, what room are you in?
I'm supposed to be in 4, but I just got kicked out of the meeting when
Hold
you
on.
tried to assign.
Let me just, okay, Silas, what room?
Okay, got it. 4. Join it.
Yeah, Silas, what room are you in? Daniel,
Talking about Salisa.
Silas, what room are you in?
It doesn't show our room. I'm in group 2, but I'm not in a room. I'm in the big group.
I know, I was trying to put you into one. Daniel,
Okay.
what room were you in? Hernandez?
I'm group 2.
2. Danielle Heard, what room?
I'm group 5.
5, beautiful. Dina?
Group 5.
Okay, Dimitri? 1, 2, Dimitri? Ethan?
5.
5. Hamza?
Group 1.
1, beautiful. Jacob?
Group 4.
4. Jeanette?
Hi, I'm group 5.
5. Javier?
Group 3.
3. Jesse? Mackenzie Logan? What?
Group 3.
3, okay. Joanne? Bessier?
I'm already in group 1.
You're already in a room.
I'm on here twice. Yeah.
Okay. How about Caitlin? Are you in a room?
I'm in group 1.
Are you in the room right now?
No.
Okay, 1. Kayla Ho?
3.
3. Joanna Bessier. Where are you? Elin Moore. Kara Rowe. Michelle McNutt.
I'm group 4.
1,
4, sir.
4. Minahal. Michelle McNutt is 5.
Yes.
Minahal, what are you?
Group 5, Dr. Marion.
Minahal is 5. Okay.
Taylor Moore is
Yes,
group
sir.
2.
2. Okay. Kara Rowe,
I'm 4.
4. Okay, bye.
Dr. Marion's like Thanos over here.
Damn, we're not
Everybody
messing around, dude. Did we get Bessie here already in the room, Joanna? She was duplicated, I think. Morgan,
Group 4.
Nathan, is he around?
Group 3.
3. Olga,
Group 3.
Rhett, I thought we sent you off already.
3.
Rolando. Reyes. Ryan,
Group 1, sir.
okay. Rolando, where are you at? 1. Sarah Oker,
3.
3. Sean,
I'm 5.
5. And Shannon Brown.
4.
And then Stephen, 1.
1.
1. And then Dr. McNutt, I don't know, why are you not showing up in a room?
You sent me to 4, but I'm actually room 5.
Oh, I sent you to 4?
Yes, so I declined it.
Ah, what happened to your decline?
You gave me an option of joining and I clicked not now.
That's okay. That's all right. Joanne, let's see. Kayla Moore, where are you at? See, I'm not seeing some of you guys. And
I got sent to room 1. I'm room 2.
you know what? Just go in any room if you can get there. Because for some reason you're not showing up. Kayla Moore, oh yeah, Kayla Moore not joined. Okay, I'm gonna put
Yes,
where
sir.
do you go, Kayla?
Group 2.
Okay, and then I
Thank
see.
you.
Okay, I see where it's how it's showing up. Okay, Michelle, you were where are you going?
Group 5.
Group 5. Bam. Ah, all right. Crystal's iPhone not joined. Do we care? No.
Hi, Dr. Mary. Yeah, I sent you an email.
What room do you want to go into?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what room?
Oh, yeah, I sent you an email because I had a death in my family and it's a lot going on.
Okay. Do you well, we don't want, why don't you just drop off the call?
Okay, I just wanted to let you know.
No, thank you. Yeah, just give me a call later or during the week and let me know where you're at. 'Cause I want to hear how you're doing.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Joanne Bessier, where are you at? You in a room? LK's phone. I
Hi,
think
Dr. Marion, it's Lori Kelly. I'm in 4.
Are you in a room? Are you good?
No, I'm not in a room.
Joanne, you're in 4. Okay, bye.
No, Dr. Marion, this is Lori Kelly.
Oh, Lord, okay, gotcha. You're at 4.
Okay, so yeah, I'm in 4. Thank you.
All right. The team is back. So let's do this. Let's start with and I'm gonna keep this really quick to the timing of this, just because I want to get you guys out of here at 7:30 and we got a little bit late. Sorry for that technology fail. I'll blame it on me, the operator. And what we'll do is let's start with group number 1, and each one of you have the capability to share the screen. So if you want to just take over the screen and then walk us through your 3 to 5 points. I'd like for us to, is group 1 back? I guess they're back. Look at that, man.
Hello.
All right, Ryan, give us 3 to 5 minutes on what you guys It's a lot of beautiful content there.
Sure thing. Okay, so our article was over social media and healthcare. So the implementation of social media into healthcare and what that can produce. Dima Farsi was the person who put this together, the article itself. And so we're going to look at social media first, just in and of itself. It's any form of electronic communication through which users create web-based communities to share information and personal messages. So one of the most common web-based activities, and as of right now, we're looking at 2.9 billion users of social media worldwide, which is expected to increase to over 3.5 billion in 2023. 19% of our smartphones, or people's smartphones rather, have at least one healthcare app on there. So I mean, me personally, I have Fitbit, calorie trackers, all that kind of stuff on my phone. And then obviously access to medical records and stuff like that from primary care. That I feel like a lot of us probably have similar information on our phone as well. One of the big things that it does is it does allow for two-sided communication. So healthcare providers and healthcare companies are able to communicate with the masses, and the masses therefore are able to communicate back with them. So it allows this exchange back and forth and ability to reach everybody. The main points we were really looking at throughout this article, one of them being health promotion. So we want to look at stuff like promoting tobacco cessation, increase your physical activity, and just generally share evidence and health-based information that most people wouldn't have access to in their day-to-day life. Another big one is practicing the promotion, increasing our presence on the web, boost reputation of companies. Again, get the names out there for information and facilities in certain areas that people may not know that they have access to, especially in more rural areas. A big one also is recruitment. I know travel nursing, travel physical therapy, all that kind of stuff is really big right now. And getting that kind of information and, getting the information for the candidacy, sharing that, and getting people from not just in the United States, but all over the world, access to that recruitment information is very easily done over social media, because as we've gone over, a lot of us have Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Professional networking and medical education is another one we have on here. I mean, if you look at what we're doing right now on the Zoom call, we're going through professional networking, medical education for our school. Virtual classrooms and academic libraries, I think, speaks for itself for what we're doing here. I know in my hospital, telemedicine is a very popular component for what we do, especially with psychiatrics and stuff like that. We use like iPads and stuff like that to get doctors who may not normally have access to patients, access to them through telemedicine. That can also help people in more remote, smaller areas. And the final one, and this is one that I think all of us have been experiencing near nonstop recently, is critical public health care issues. COVID-19 tracking, COVID-19 information that's readily able to be distributed to people that normally wouldn't look at any of that stuff or not understand what's happening through COVID. Emergency notifications, and of course, natural disaster monitoring. We've seen that a lot with wildfires in California, as well as hurricanes and such in the south through the Gulf of Mexico. Kind of in conclusion here, social media and its implementation into healthcare, it's important. It's a vital component in ensuring that all people, regardless of location, regardless of anything in their life, have at least some form of access to healthcare outside of just showing up to a primary healthcare facility or office. Great. And that they have access to the information when they may not be in their normal area.
Yeah. Great. Perfect timing. Bam. Good speed, good pace. Excellent slide, by the way. Whoever's the artist there. And if you guys could also remember to send me the slides when you're done, because I'd like to have them. I'll post them in the module. I think that's great information, great summary. So great. Well, let's pass the ball to group number 2, and whoever's going to report out. Excellent job to all you guys for pulling this together. Ryan, thank you for braving, and being the reporter outer. Fabulous job for the group. Excellent job. Who's group 2?
Hello, Dr. Marianne. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Daniel.
I'll be sharing my screen for the presentation.
Excellent. I love that microphone.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I'm putting you on the timer, dude.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. We are Group 2. Our report focuses on consumerism in healthcare, its current state, its benefits, its challenges by Surab Pagaria. As the title implies, Pagaria investigates how healthcare has been modeled to consumerism. And the three key solutions that Pagaria illustrates is how first, experience management must be the main focus, as two, healthcare providers can be distinguished by the patient experience and individualized care. And second, interactions with customers via digital media are and should become common, as mobile applications and patient portals help providers innovate their services and increase patient input within the healthcare service accessibility. And lastly, healthcare providers need to respond to the rising price sensitivity. Basically, healthcare providers should take into account the changing service rates in accordance with the consumer preferences and offering substitute cost-effective medical prescriptions, thus amplifying patient satisfaction and customer loyalty. So the question becomes, what predicaments do these solutions apply to? Well, Pagaria centers the article on consumerism and how it's a contemporary movement to defend consumers from useless, harmful products and deceptive advertisements and unfair pricing. So due to the societal alienation brought on by COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for virtual healthcare is rising, especially in regions such as China, the US, and Europe. So the point being that COVID-19 brought attention to the necessity for patients to participate in their healthcare and embrace a lifestyle medication, especially specifically linked to digital communication. So recently, 73% of consumers utilize digital medication tools such as artificial intelligence, chatbots, telehealth, and the ability to monitor their own health. And a future trend is the shift from sick-oriented medication to preventative medication, which will be facilitated by social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now, Pagaria notes that this is only realistic if patients are open to sharing their information and provide comments and benefit to consumers by enhancing the current digital technology and developing new technologies for the future. So within the healthcare sphere in digital communication, it can be represented through telehealth. And the geographical proximity advantage is being undermined by telehealth because it's creating a level playing field for virtual competitors. So to meet the high demand of digital communication, there needs to be that accessibility of the popular telehealth because it keeps healthcare professionals and the patients in secure areas and their preferred locations. So in terms of the accessibility, people are purchasing compact wrist-worn medication equipment to monitor their health, example being the Apple Watch, which can monitor your heart rate when you exercise. And thanks to this, numerous medical disorders, especially long-term ones such as diabetes, hypertension, and lung ailments can be monitored. And this is an opportunity knocking because healthcare serves that can be utilized that assist with monitoring their health are in high demand. So hence, to ensure that everyone has access to healthcare, healthcare organizations and providers must tailor their digital technologies to various groups of people. So Pagaria notes that we should consider using collaborations within the healthcare sector as solutions. So an expansion of public-private partnerships, or PPPs, offering an amalgamated strategy to respond to growing consumptions, creates a significant modification in the decision-making infrastructure. It's an internal analysis to expand to virtual communication, and just those small differences from the mic quality to the video quality are going to make those differences between the competitors. So ultimately,
you got about 30 seconds.
So ultimately, circling back to the solutions, it's going to require a value proposition to cater to consumers rather than the patients. Thank you.
All right. That's a lot of content in that article.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, let's keep moving just so we can, for the sake of time. Thanks for sharing. And I don't know if you guys saw Daniel's video. Did a great job in the intro to the course. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Who's group 3?
We are group 3. We actually divvied up different points so that each person contributes.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll go.
Okay, give me 1 second here. There we go.
Okay.
So our group, read Feeling Good, the future of the 1.5 trillion wellness market. It delved into the fact that the concept of wellness is changing. And even though it has been around for a long time, nowadays consumers view it through a more broader, sophisticated lens. They're not only interested in fitness and nutrition, but they're also interested in physical and mental health and their appearance. Some of the most recent research shows that the global wellness market is currently valued at 1.5 trillion, and the annual growth is anywhere from 5 to 10%.
Thank you, Olga. Yeah. So this article described that the current trend in wellness extends beyond medicine to include better health, services such as personal health trackers and telemedicine that the previous groups mentioned. It also includes better fitness, which did experience a little bit of an upheaval over the past year, but is bouncing back pretty strong. And better nutrition. Consumers want their food to help them accomplish their wellness goals, and they're willing to pay for that service. They also want it to taste good. And then consumers are including their appearance in how one of their dimensions of health, of better health, including everything from athleisure to non-surgical aesthetic procedures. And consumers are also willing to invest big in better sleep, beyond traditional medicines like melatonin to fancy mattresses and app-enabled sleep trackers. And mindfulness has gained a lot of popularity recently and has become mainstreamed with meditation-focused apps. So better health has become multidimensional and quite valuable.
Thank you, Jesse. So the article references surveys that was done throughout the country with Brazil, China, Germany, Japan, UK, United States. And it was found that consumers in every country spend the most money on products and services that promote better health. I found there was a correlation between Brazil and China for the most part, that they emphasize in health over appearance, fitness, nutrition, mindfulness, or sleep. It is expected to be a greater shift towards services such as personal training, nutritionists, and counseling for mental health. Take it away, Nathan.
Thank you, sir. So this survey identified some trends and how companies can respond to them. First trend was natural and clean products. This refers to skincare, cosmetics, multivitamins, subscription food services, sleep enhancers, and even apparel, organic, natural materials, sustainability. Those kind of items are going to be grouped in this trend, first trend. Second trend would be more personalization. They found out in the survey that people are prioritizing personalization and even willing to give up a little of their own privacy. An example of this would be personalized vitamin and supplement subscriptions based on information that consumers submit through a quiz. So you give up a little of your information and we can support your needs better. Third trend, the future is still digital and will continue to be a major consumer categories will continue to project more growth in e-commerce than any other channels over the next several years. And that's just based on the assumption that we need to meet our customers where they are.
Yeah.
The fourth trend is under the influencer. Influencers are now the key part of the wellness market. In fact, influencers can drive their consumers' purchases. So the use of influencer will be very important to promote a brand. Trend number 5 will be the rise of services. Services has been a growth part of the wellness market. Consumers, healthcare companies should consider diagnostic or coaching offers that supports a direct connection to the consumers. For example, Peloton, they started offering membership for in-house or in-person exercises.
About
even
30
for,
seconds, Sarah, 30
yes,
seconds. So
even for consumers that don't have an equipment. 6 ones is category lines continue to blur. So consumers, they'll have to see if they're gonna open choices for the market, for the marketers to offer more services and cover more lines. It will be very important for the company not to fail to address all of these trends so that they won't miss out on the 1.5 trillion wellness market that is evolving.
great. Good. Very good. Number 4, is that right? We got a couple more. Was that, were you 3 or 4, Sarah? You're 3.
We're at 4.
Oh, you're
4 is
4.
next.
4, okay, let's roll.
So we covered the global health new entrants. And the article really, just to sum it up, talked about in both or in all developing nations, new entrants that have paved pathways into virtual healthcare, more affordable and convenient care options, clinics that replace inflexible public health, fitness and wellness, and much more. So sorry, I'm trying to look at this now. Our top points were as new entrants, a disruptive arrival in market or industry. So companies whose core business resides outside of a new industry or expanding into new roles, and organizations that have not previously been a part of healthcare. And then for virtual care, providing behavioral diagnostic solutions and collaboration for new telecommunications. So market without walls, like apps and things like that. And then the leapfrog effect, where healthcare is more entrenched and regulated, where companies can skip generations of development, and joining healthcare is easier than in a regulated healthcare market. For example, Virgin Healthcare is a new entrant that is putting virtual clinics across everywhere, I think. Sorry, across the whole, every city and anyone can access this. So I think some of my group is going to join in.
Well, another example of like a new entrant into the global health market would be Nintendo. Nintendo has historically been a gaming company, but yet they are making an entrance into the healthcare market through development into specific healthcare apps.
Yeah. Fascinating.
And then I'll take another point to expand on. One of the ways these companies such as Nintendo are actually expanding are through a sector which you probably wouldn't think of, which is the health and wellness sector, as a few of the other groups have kind of mentioned. So for example, for Nintendo, they'll come out with different games and controllers that might induce more physical activity than just sitting and playing with a normal controller. You also have, global nutrition supplements, weight loss industry, as also previously mentioned, mobile health apps, and also wearables, as mentioned by other groups. All of these are kind of in this health and wellness sector, which is less regulated, as kind of previously mentioned, but is something that these new entrants can gain access to. This is an area of the market where our author says we should look at in terms of experimentation, as to have a new entrant come in a normal healthcare space, especially in a developed country, that'll be much harder for them to do than to just expand in this usually unregulated space. So I believe that is it, unless the other groups have one more thing to add.
No, I think that's excellent. Great. Thanks, Morgan. Let's wrap up with team 5 so we can end the call fairly close to our end time. And
I'm trying to pull up our PowerPoint. Can you guys see it?
We'll be seeing it in a second. No, you're sharing, but you're not sharing the right window.
Let me see. Okay, Jeanette, share. I just does it.
We got you.
Here, let me see if I can share my screen on it and see if everyone can.
Oh, that's great.
Can everyone see that?
Bam.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Great teamwork,
so
Sean.
our article was what is care marketing? Can you hear me?
Oh, we hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so our article was what is the healthcare marketing plan? Our first point is our author kind of breaks down what a marketing plan is. They noted that it's a strategic document that is designed to facilitate the achievement of a specific business goal. The second point that we found out in our article while looking over it was the importance of marketing. We realized that, of course, we have to look at the demographics of population that we want to target. Also, we also want to look at their economic income. Also, our competitors is a big factor in our marketing because we want to make sure that we're able to compete in the market and understanding the market that we're competing in. The third point that we found out in our article was the SWOT analysis tool and the SMART goal was very big in our article. And both of those were used to kind of help target a specific area and help us know what area we would be good at as far as marketing our product. Point 4 that we came up with was also budgeting is very important when we're doing our marketing. There are 5 different options best known as pros and cons when you're doing your marketing for your budget. The budget can ultimately make or break your company. So that was a big point for us. Point 5, we looked over strategies and tactics. Strategies leverage the relationship with established patients, and it also improves patient experience. One of the strategies that our author discussed was actually using surveys, patient satisfaction surveys, to kind of help see if our patients are satisfied with our services. And I don't know if anybody else from our team wanted to chime in.
I thought that was excellent, Danielle.
Okay.
This is really important. No, it's good. Sean, thanks for saving on the Zoom sharing. Good. No, very good. I think in the future, one thing, I want to thank you all for putting great slides, great putting them together. If the person who was the reporter outer, if you could email me the slides, I'll post them into the module. I think it's a good summary of good information. I'd like for everybody to have exposure to it. So please share that with me. If you could do that before you sign off tonight, that'd be great. Just flip me an email. Couple things. I want to remind you that in this module, under the Zoom section, and we could probably stop sharing. I think we can probably kill that. Thanks, Sean. In the section, there's a survey on the Zoom call. Whenever I do a Zoom call, I like to get feedback from people. You get 5 points extra credit if you do that. So please, fill that out. And also, please, I love the anecdotal feedback that, maybe my outfit didn't show up good on the screen or whatever. Lots of the other piece that I'm interested in hearing about is there's a lot of debate about whether or not these Zoom calls are helpful in the learning process, or people prefer, because I'm happy doing a call every week or every other week or whatever, more frequently or less, whatever's best for you as a learner. What do you find is the most helpful from an engagement perspective? Are the lectures better to be synchronous or asynchronous? So I keep that when you submit your feedback on the survey, the extra credit survey. Send me your slides. And then is there any questions that anybody has about we're past it, we're at 7:31. So anybody wants to drop, you can drop, and I will not judge you as being, not staying with the team or anything. Feel free to go at 7:30, it's 7:31. But is there any questions that folks have about anything that's coming up? Because we're wrapping up this, we're gonna be done, right? We've got next week, which is the last module, and then we have the final. And so I'm gonna hang around to see if there's questions for people have about where you're at, what's next. And if you don't, just have a great night. But I'm gonna stay until everybody leaves me. Sound
Dr.
good?
Marion, I do have a question. Can we, I didn't even check to see if we had access to the other articles, but do we have access to the articles if we want to utilize them or read them?
You will tonight. I'll post the articles and the slides in one sort of activity. And then also the calls is being recorded. And so I'll post that. It takes a day or two to get it, I got to bring it down. I got to cut it off and trim off. Wasn't that great music in the very beginning for those of you who were here for the
What was it?
One of the songs is Moon, and I don't know, let me see. It's a great spot. It's a great playlist.
I'm Professor Further.
Oh, the Blaze is one of them. It's all good stuff. It's my Jams 2022 playlist. So yeah, the Blaze and another Kid Francescioli is the second one. So
Very
you're gonna have to start posting Spotify playlists to go with the lectures then. We need some study jams here.
I hate to have people to wait, while the call's getting ready to go and not have some entertainment. So,
Oh, gotcha.
okay. What else? Anything else before I bail?
Professor, for the final, is a study guide going to be presented or not for the
Open book, study finals, open book, and a wise student, if they had quizzes every module, would wonder, I wonder if those similar questions would be on the final. And that's just a little learning student tip, because most faculty don't like creating brand new questions. And it's kind of like when I took my boards in nursing school. I mean, how many times are you going to ask the question about when somebody falls, make sure their airway's open? Right. So I think if you study the PowerPoint materials and if you study the areas on the quiz content, I think you'll do very well. I'm not trying to fail people, trying to help you guys get content and learn. And so.
Thank you.
Dr. Marion, when will you be opening up Module 8?
I'm hoping to tomorrow, the next day at the latest, by Friday morning, latest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I got to do that lecture, and I was gone last week, and I'll have your written assignment next ones. I should hope to have those for you on Thursday morning. I try to open us up early if I can. What else?
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, y'all. Okay, Dimitri, thank you for your.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, you guys all take care.
Thank you, Dr. Marion.
You guys know where to find me, and for HCSC people, I have an office in Richardson. So if you need a little career coaching or how do I cope with these crazy faculty members or any of that, I'm happy to help any way I can. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the night. Take care. Thank you.
You have a good night.